What's up, everybody? This is Kurt Dimer, and you're watching Aftershocks TV. Peace and love.
Well, let's go ahead. I want to talk about one of our main topics here today. Well, I should say our main discussion. It's about something that came out earlier this year, the Live Nation's on the road again. Now, you know about this, right?
Yes.
What this is all about? All right. Let me just for the people in the audience that don't know, just a quick recap of what it is. So, as a lot of people have seen over the years or read about or whatever, every year it's getting harder and harder for bands, obviously, to make money on the road. With all the overhead costs, with all the logistics, it's so many bands are saying it's like, why even tour? They're making no money. In fact, they're even losing money. And so, what's the point, right? So, I mean, one of the main reasons is because the venues, they're taking 15 to 30, 40% of the merchandise sales, which is nuts, right? Mm-hmm. Where in the past that was unheard of, right? That was the way the bands always made profit. And that, so the thing is it's happened. It's put this way: it's been happening to smaller bands for a long time, but not to a lot of these major and mid-major bands. So, like a good, for instance, when I had my label living in L.A., yeah, when I had a band Count Time in L.A., played the Whiskey. Yeah, we got in there. They were taking 20% of the merch. I remember, and I wasn't happy about it, because that was also my merch we were selling.
Sure.
We also had to pay to play. That's been going on for a while too. Not so much pay, but basically, yes, we had to sell 30 tickets, right? So what I did instead was, as a label, I just bought the 30 tickets and I gave them away to people in the industry just to come for free, right? It's just like anything, right? So that's been going on for a while with smaller, bands and labels and so forth, independent music, no big deal. But of course, now that has been happening now to a lot of these sort of, bands that have been on radio, have had hits. They're going to these venues and they're doing it to everybody now. All right, these venues. So now, obviously, there's a big outcry about it recently, especially after the pandemic. It's been upped, right? And all the inflation and everything, all right? So now someone like Live Nation's coming in and going, hey, we're here to save the day. Now, Live Nation, as we know, is not saving anybody's day but their own day, okay? Their own, they're just... I mean, anybody that understands, obviously, Live Nation and Ticketmaster are one, right? It's a monopoly. Everyone knows this, right? So here comes the big guys coming in, going, "Hey, we created this problem, and now we're going to come in and we're going to solve it for you," right? And so what they've been doing for a lot of these bands is they had this thing called On the Road Again, and what it does is the first thing as Live Nation has been buying up venues, a lot of these. Bigger venues, mid to large size venues in basically every major city, at least in this country. I'm not sure about overseas, but I know here in the United States, that's what they've been doing. So you go to any of these venues, any of these major cities, Charlotte, San Francisco, whatever it is, Live Nation owns a bunch of these things, okay?
Right.
So what they're telling these bands now is, okay, look, so we're going to help you out. We want you to play at our venue. We're not going to take any of your merchandise, your income, any of your profit. And in fact, not only we're not going to do that, we're also going to pay you $1,500 so you can pay for your gas on your tour. They just been basically giving them gift cards, all this stuff, right? As long as they play their venues. Now people that don't understand, maybe business. What that means is basically Live Nation, this big conglomerate, this monopolistic, company, is coming in, buying the venues, telling you, you play there and we'll do this for you. What that now does is all those other smaller clubs where you're seeing the newer bands that are coming up, the new bands that are going to be eventually the future of music, they've got nowhere to play now. And if they want to play, if they make it big enough eventually, they're going to have to sign up with who? With Live Nation. Just like you got to sign up, you got to be with Live Nation or Ticketmaster to sell your tickets. It's the same thing, right? So now recently there was an article, the band Saliva, the singer Bobby Amaru, I think his name is. He was talking about it and saying, yes, this is actually really happening, right? So before it was just all talk. No one knew what was going on. He came out and said, yeah, you know what's happening? We went to the venue. There was all these gift cards there for us for gas and all this stuff. They didn't take any sales, no money from the sales of merchandise. Oh, and they even gave us the little chocolate with it too. I don't know if you saw that in the
I
article.
saw that. I read the
Yeah.
article. Yeah, I did. I
Now,
did.
to me, I laughed at that because to me, this is just my take on it. That's Live Nation laughing in these guys' faces. Here's your little chocolate on top of it. Now, like, look, I get why a band like Saliva is happy about it because basically what this is, like I said, I'll try to hurry this up so I don't take forever talking about this. But what they're doing is they see, okay, these legacy bands, these bands that have been, making us money for years, Metallica's older, they're getting older. And a lot of them are going to start going away. And they know, okay, how are they going to replenish this? How are they going to be able to
That's right.
replenish bands to do this? So now if they take care of the Salivas and the Puddle of Muds, these bands that had some radio hits in the 90s, because now the 90s nostalgia is it's fully in. If they take care of them and they play at their venues, then they've got now that set up too, right? They've got all those bands to the 90s in their pocket now too. Okay. So those bands now aren't going to play those other smaller venues or those independent venues unless they're owned obviously by Live Nation. And so they even asked Bobby, what about those bands? What about these independent bands? Isn't this going to be bad for the future of music? I think his comment was something like, I think I got it right here. Those smaller cap rooms, maybe they'll figure something out. I don't know how they budget shows, but maybe they'll figure something out. But they could definitely benefit from this. So basically he's saying, just everybody give everything up to the big monopoly. And I don't want to get all political and stuff, but it's like this reminds people of a lot of political systems that have happened over the history of in history. So anyway, I just think, like I said, I understand it's a tough thing because I get it. Saliva's like, look, we got to do this if we're going to make some money ourselves and stay on the road. I get it. But if all the bands start doing this, I mean, the future of music is now in Live Nation saying, just like we see live music in general on the radio is in the hands of not people that know anything about music. So this is an interesting situation. Give me your take on all this, Tom.
Yeah, and I mean, you've kind of covered a lot of what it involves, and Willie Nelson is involved. So on the road again, there you go. Yep. There's the connection there, and the comment. I was just looking at some. It's $1,500 per show, but you don't get $1,500 cash. You get gas cards, you get travel cards. They don't take a percent of your merch, which they shouldn't be taken in the first place. So there's that, and it's at participating venues only.
Exactly.
Right. And I looked at Charlotte today. I was looking at Charlotte, New Jersey, because that's where I live and that's where I lived. And the venues that I go to here for a lot of my club shows are the Underground and the Fillmore. And they're participating. The one I used to go in New Jersey, Sayreville, as you know, the ballroom,
right?
Ballroom, right?
Yeah,
that is not a participating venue.
Mm-hmm.
So it's participating venues only. So already that's a problem, for a touring band. And there's no cap on the number of qualifying shows. And again, qualifying means participation. But you've got this huge, big conglomerate, this huge, big company that are giving back my ass. They're not giving back. They're not giving back. And whatever they're handing out, they're taking it from somewhere else because they're putting up ticket prices or whatever they're doing, or parking spots, or concessions in other venues. So any big band that gives back, any big company that gives back to any whether it's a social justice thing or whether it's a donation to whatever, they're doing it for their own PR, disguised as, hey, we're giving you this because here you go. Like the chocolate thing is a prime example of that. And there's 4,000 venues across the US right now, and about 70% of those are small clubs. I'm not too sure what the definition of small is. Let's just presume 2,000 or less. So Ticketmaster is still making a shit ton of money from the 70%. It's not all about the Motley Crues and the Bruce Springsteens and Bon Jovis and recent Kiss tours that are playing in the arenas and stadiums. They're making a shit ton of money from those smaller venues, which are 70% of all venues in the US. So I cry bullshit on this. Because look at Ticketmaster, Live Nation. Look at the controversy they've been involved in the last couple of years to do with fees and court cases, and even went to the U.S. Congress, I believe, about some bill or something. I'm not quite sure what happened, but these guys are motherfuckers, and they ain't giving back to anybody. And that's just basically that's it. They're not giving back to anybody. They're disguising as that, but they're not.
Exactly. But it amazes me because not just Bobby here from Saliva, but when this came out, I remember my first thing was like, fuck no. Like, I don't know how anyone would get behind this. I mean, people have been bitching about Live Nation and Ticketmaster for how long?
Forever.
I give Pearl Jam a lot of credit. They were the the guys back in the day, and they still to this day don't go through Ticketmaster. They put their money where their mouth is. I'll give that. Sure. I'm not the hugest Pearl Jam fan musically, but I will give them credit for. They saw this years ago, and they put their foot down, and they still have it. Right. They're still, and if you look at it, they took themselves out of not just Ticketmaster. They put out no videos. They stuck away from MTV because they saw it. They were like, "No, we're already not big enough band. We don't need all this. We could do this independently and make more money." And people need to follow that. I know it's a tougher road. I know it's tough to do. And look at Saliva. I mean, this. I don't mean to. I'm not knocking on Saliva. But no one does. There's no one really care. I mean, no one's really into Saliva anymore much. It's people who. It's nostalgic. They don't even have the Josie Scott, the original lead singer. Sure. The main guitarist just passed away. I know this year. Mm-hmm. So they're like hanging by a thread. I can get a band like that just going, hey, we got nothing to lose. You know what I mean? Let's just take it.
Yeah, I get it.
Enjoy.
I mean, if I was in Saliva, I'd probably do the same thing. I'm getting gas cards, I'm getting travel, I'm getting a free chocolate, I'm getting some press, whatever.
Free chocolate.
So you probably do the same thing. So in one way, you can't blame them or any band that's doing it. We're not talking about the bands. We're just talking about the product offering. And we both of us are agreement on this. We're crying bullshit on this.
And so, what's to do now? Because it's just going to happen slowly but surely. Listen, I don't know how it is in Charlotte, but I know here over the pandemic, there was one club in San Francisco, one of my favorite clubs called Slim's. Mm-hmm. It's been around since the 70s. It was owned by Boz Scaggs, if you remember him at all. It was a great venue, man. And that closed over the pandemic. That just crushed me because that was my favorent place to see a show. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the spots where I've been seeing shows after that, I mean, the only spots and venues that are left are literally like these dive bar, like I wouldn't even call them clubs. They're not even clubs. Yeah. Or you've got some breweries now that are opening. I noticed that around the country, they're opening, stages and stuff. And that's really where it's going to probably be is these microbrews, these independent brewing companies. They're doing a good job keeping music because a lot of those guys who brew beer are big music fans and rock and metal fans on top of that, not just music. And you see a lot of these beers they're making for bands and all that stuff in their name. And so there's a lot of, bands playing at these breweries. That's really where the music, where this independent music is going to be played at. It's sad because like I said, I get the Salivas of the world. I understand the situation. They got nothing to lose. Go ahead, take your chocolate and your 50, your gas cards and take it. But what about the future of music, man? It's really, it's grim. It's not a good future. The outlook, it doesn't look good because if Live Nation, I guess I could talk about this all day. It pissed me off when I first read this a couple of months ago, but I was amazed to see how many people were just like, "Wow, finally a company doing what should be done to help bands." Nope. It's like, no, they're not helping, man. It's like when the government gives you free money, it's not free. It's coming from somewhere else, and they want you to spend it anyway, and they know you're going to spend it. And that's the thing is we don't know what Live Nation's these gas cards. What kind of deals have they got with these gas companies? Once again, people they understand that people don't understand business. Most people don't. They don't have a basic knowledge of business. Sure. So they're just going to think, look, everyone's thinking we're doing something charitable here. We're giving away all this money.
It's good PR.
Bands. It's great PR.
About it.
It's
great
fantastic.
PR. That's what, they didn't, whoever came up with the idea of this was whoever. And then the marketing people jumped on board going, okay, well, let's do press releases. Let's do this. Let's get Willie Nelson involved, get a quote from him. And then it just gains all this momentum. And then all the mainstream media who won't question anything about anything, they just go, this is a great idea. And they'll just run with it.
That's it.
And then they'll have a 20-minute segment on Good Morning America talking about it. So nobody has this discussion because we don't give a shit. We'll talk about whatever we see fit. But when someone has got a vested interest, they won't question it. You're not going to see Willie Nelson or you're not going to see an official or an executive from Ticketmaster being questioned on mainstream media saying this is bullshit. It's not going to happen. So they'll just nod along like puppies and agree with everything. So
it is. I know Falcon was right, man. But I hope that chocolate tastes good there, Saliva. I hope that's at least it's what I wonder what flavor it is or what.
Maybe it's a caramel. Maybe it's a shiny wrapper or something.
Dove chocolate. Which I don't know. It better be a damn good one. Maybe Swiss. Yeah. Swiss chocolate's good. Ooh. But anyway, enjoy that, man. Because like I said, anyway. this topic just really bugs me because you just can see what's gonna come
it's
of it,
conceited, and I think that's who they are, and that's who they've been for decades.
Yep.
And Leopard doesn't change their spots and all that, so it's I think it's conceited, and it's very well thought out, and they have the press machine behind it, and they got the money to back it up.
And that's it. No, not much anybody could do except for bands saying "go fuck yourself." But then again, it also, it's going to take really, it's going to take, I guess, some local business owners to do something about it.
It's not going to happen,
venues, but it's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. That's the thing. It's not, and we all know that.
And I'm going to go to a concert next week, and it's going to be Ticketmaster, and they're going to take a $50 ticket. They're going to take $14 in fees.
Yep.
What do I do?
And what
I
do you
could
do
not go, by the way. I could not go, but
then you're not supporting bands, right? And then bands aren't around.
That's the flip side. That's the other
exactly.
side of it. So it's a vicious circle.
Well, what I think is going to happen, and we're not going to get into it because I do want to get into this in another segment. I'm hoping next episode, but there is something that came out recently. It's basically what it is it's Toby Wright, right? He's a big producer, Toby Wright. Mm-hmm. And there's a place called the Machine Shop that's in Flint, Michigan.
Okay.
I think it's in Flint. Yeah. And it's just kind of it's a pretty legendary spot. You've probably seen a million bands have their picture taken in this little, let me see if I just want to bring it up here because I want to just show you an example of this. Okay. So you see that right there. Okay, that's the Machine Shop. You've seen a million bands. They've had their pictures taken in this thing right here. It's just, it's a venue, I guess, where people play shows. It's a legendary spot. And so Toby Wright, and I believe the owners of Machine Shop, what they recently did was they opened up, it's the first ever digital lounge. Now, I know we saw some of this go on during the pandemic, right? Where people were doing live streams, right? And they would do them in studios and so forth. But with this, they just did one, a couple of weeks ago. It was the first one over the holidays. It was the first one done. I think it only done one. So Toby Wright, the big producer, Alice in Chains, all those great bands, he's a part of it. And what they're doing is you've got to pay to see it virtually. And that's it, though. There's no, on YouTube after, there's nothing. You either see it once and it's it. It's done. You can't go back. You can't get it recorded, any of that stuff. So I think people are eventually going to be more open to this virtual. I watched a few of them over the pandemic. I think I watched one with Clutch. We watched that one. I think I told you with the Cradle of Filth one that we did the thing where I was telling you about.
That's right.
And I give them credit. They did a big show about it too. It was like, they had the whole everything, all the bells and whistles and everything in there.
Sure.
But I think something like this eventually, it's not live music though. You're not getting the same experience. You're just not. But people are going to start maybe doing this instead of playing at smaller clubs and stuff just to get the word out there about their band. I just think there's a reason why they opened this virtual lounge anyway. And like I said, we'll get into it in another episode. But
looking forward to that.
I think that might be something that's an option, which is why they put a lot of money into it. This might be something they might be doing down the road. I don't know what their ideas on it. Who knows?
Could be a test case for expansion. Who knows?
Yeah, we could be. I tried to get for Every Galaxy. I did try to get Toby on, but then they said he stopped doing interviews. He did a few and then he stopped.
Okay.
So maybe I'll try to reach out and maybe get someone from the Machine Shop themselves if Toby doesn't do it, just to talk about what they want to do with it, because I'm really interested in hearing about this. It's an interesting concept.